One of the major issues that comes up with parents below age 3 is the opposition crisis, or the crisis of self-affirmation. In the training, we speak about these crises, and instead of thinking about a crisis as being a traumatic, turbulent time, we like to think of them as opportunities. So times where children are in between, they're usually transitioning from being one way into another way. And they're both physical as well as psychological. With this crisis, the child is around 2, and this is where they've gotten this term, the terrible twos, from. This crisis of self-affirmation is when a child tends to say no all the time. The beginning of it starts around 18 months, and then it can go up until 2.5. This child is learning with language that he has a choice in life, and that if he says no, then he can get something else. And so it becomes a very powerful word for him. If we try to start this process of toilet learning during this time, between 18 to 24 months, we're going to have a lot of opposition. So this process needs to start before that time. And many adults don't understand, how can this toileting start before the child is this age? I thought that they shouldn't even start until age 3. Part of it is preparation.
Good morning. How are you today? How are you today? I think so happy. Let's change it.
One of the things you can do that helps in their preparation is by using cloth diapers instead of paper, so that the child learns the sensations of their own body. That when I'm wet, this is what it feels like, instead of with a paper diaper, when I'm wet, nothing happens. And they can't tell us then that they're wet if they're not feeling that they're wet. Then once they're moving, you can start putting them in underwear first, because it helps with their movement development. When you have a big bulky diaper around your midsection, it's hard to move. They might see other adults in their family using the toilet, so that's also part of the preparation, but there's no expectation that they're going to use it. They can be introduced to a small potty, and they can be placed on that at certain times after meals or after they awaken, after you come in from a walk. Again, not with an expectation, but just this is a schedule. And this is what we might do later on. And then, once they can move well enough and sit and go and find their own clothing, they can start dressing and undressing themselves. This is an aspect of their life that happens all of the time. They want to do it. It's something that they're interested in. So if we let them and allow them and make them a part of the process initially, so, put your arm through, and you hold the hole open so that they can get their arm through. Or when taking off, you hold the hole and you say, okay, you can pull your arm through. And then once they can walk, they can go into the bathroom and they can sit on the potty if they want to, or they can sit on the toilet if you've somehow acclimated it for their size. It's just getting comfortable with going in the bathroom, and this is the toilet. If you want to sit, sure, but if you don't want to, there's no forcing involved. A big part of toilet learning is routine. There isn't any expectation that they're going to become fully toileted in a certain time period. It's up to the child when they do it. We can't make them toilet, just like we can't make them eat or sleep. It's a process that they have to learn. But one way we can help them with that is around this routine. So when they wake up in the morning, they go into the bathroom and they're offered, would you like to use the toilet? If they don't want to, then they don't. One way you can offer a choice there in terms of avoiding the opposition crisis is, would you like to use the potty or the big toilet? Something like that. And then also not asking if you can avoid it. Okay, it's time to use the toilet. Would you like to take off your socks or your underwear first? Something like that, so that it is a part of the routine. So in the morning when they wake up, then they go have breakfast. Then after breakfast, because there's the gastrocolic reflex, so that once they eat, something goes in, something must come out. So they go after meals, after breakfast, then they might take a ride to school and go to school. Once they arrive, they would go again. Then about an hour and a half into the work cycle, they're offered to go again, never interrupting if they're working, but if they're in between something, let's go to the bathroom, let's make a visit. And let's get our friend Celia. She can go with us too. Let's go to the bathroom together. So about an hour and a half in. And then before you go outside, if you're going outside, and then when you come in from outside, and then after lunch, and then when they wake up from their nap. So it's all of the normal times of day, whenever there's a transition time especially, that children are offered this time where they can go use the toilet. And one of the things that you might see in our environments is that the children usually don't wear pants until they're successfully using the toilet. And that's just because it's an obstacle to them getting there and being successful.
Okay, everybody poops right there at mommy.
A common misconception is that there's a goal in mind, that it's just an end product, and that it should happen by a certain age, which is not true in terms of any acquisition and any development that the child is doing. For example, with walking, a child can walk between 8 and 18 months, so there's a broad range in terms of when this acquisition is going to happen, and it's the same thing with toileting. It's a process that there's preparation for, and it will happen eventually, and it needs to happen when the child is ready. But it will happen when he decides, not when the adult decides. When you're working in a community, it's important to think about this toileting process as a work choice, just like any other work on the shelf. So the child might choose bead stringing, for example, or he might choose cleaning shoes, or he might choose washing dishes. And in any of those activities, when he goes to choose them, it's his choice if he wants to do them. So with toileting, we can ask the child, would you like to? But if he doesn't want to, we can't make him. With choosing that work, that might mean that he might only do a part of that work. That happens commonly with toddlers, that they only do part of a cycle of work. So they might only go over and put one bead on and off a couple times, and then they're done. And it might be the same with toileting. They might go in the bathroom and take their underwear off and on, and then they're finished, and they leave the bathroom. So it needs to be seen as work. And it also might be a long process in terms of what they want to do. So for example, if a child goes and does dishwashing from start to finish, and they want to repeat washing dishes over and over again, it might take them a half an hour. It could be the same thing in the bathroom. They might go into the bathroom and they're really into taking their underwear on and off, and they want to go sit on the toilet, and then they want to go sit on the bench, and then they want to go sit on the toilet again, and then they want to wash their hands, and then they want to sit on the toilet again. So it's a process like any other work that needs to happen, and it's very important for the child to be able to repeat and get that sequence and become comfortable so that they can gain knowledge about this toileting process just like any other work. Regression is common in terms of toileting. It happens with all children. Most of the time, a child will have regression when there's a big transition that's happening. So for example, if a child is moving to the primary environment for 3 to 6, they're going into a whole new world with new children around them, new adults, new physical environment. Everything is different. It's a very big transition. It's the same thing with toileting. They get excited. They are also orienting themselves to the new environment. They might not remember where the bathroom is, and they might not be checking in with themselves like they did when they were very, very comfortable in this infant community where they came from, where it was part of the daily schedule, and now it's like, wow, everything is turned upside down, and I don't know where to fit it in. So they have to, in some sense, relearn it because it's a new environment. One of the things that I like to tell primary teachers is set up the environment for when you do have situations where the child needs to change. So it's not the child's fault when their underwear are wet or when they couldn't make it to the toilet. We can support them by setting up the environment that way. So they have their own clothing in the bathroom that they can change. Here's your new underwear, here's your new pants. This is what you can do. Here's a bag that you can put your wet clothing in so that it can go home and it can be washed. And we'll send home your box so that you can get clean clothes for tomorrow if this happens again. And you have 4 pairs of underwear here, so Anytime you need to, you can come in here and you can change. So it's a normal part of the process, and we're supporting the child through it just like we would any other work that they might be having issues with. So regressions happen also for other reasons besides just transitioning to a new classroom. They can also happen because of things that are going on at home as well. So any big life changes. If there's a new sibling that arrives, oftentimes toileting will regress. If there's a divorce in the family, if a relative is coming to visit, even if for some reason it's a slight change where there's a time change. Parents get advice from all different kinds of places. They get it from their pediatricians, their friends, their relatives, teachers, people in the grocery store, everywhere. And they take all of this in, and then they come out with something they want to do and an expectation. So we need to support parents with their decisions. If they are choosing not to do toilet learning like this at home, then that's their choice. We can say that it's part of the Montessori philosophy. So this is what happens when your child is at school. One of the things that we do is we add it to the handbook. This is the way we will do toileting, and you spell it out so that they know that this is a process that you do at your school. It's lovely to be able to watch and observe if you can appreciate the process of it and understand that each one of those steps is a step toward independence, a step toward self-esteem, a step toward feeling good about themselves, and being separate from the adult. I can do this. I can change my own clothing. Nobody else has to do this for me. I don't have to depend and wait on somebody to offer me to go to the bathroom.